All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. In this video, I want to talk about the Mr. Olympia and the direction that things have been going lately. The past couple of years, you've had a new Mr. Olympia champion for the last 4 years, if you include Phil Heath's last victory. So if you look back, 2020, 2019, 2018, and 2017, 4 years, and for each of those 4 consecutive years, there's a different Mr. Olympia champion in each one. This is something that doesn't happen that often in the history of bodybuilding. 4 different Mr. Olympia champions in a 4-year span. The last time that something even similar to this happened, it was a little bit different because it went, let's say, 6 years. It started in 79, so Frank Zane won from 77 to 79. So 1979, Frank Zane won. 1980, Arnold Schwarzenegger won. 1981, Franco Columbu. 1982, Chris Dickerson. 1983, Samir Bannout. And then 1984, Lee Haney. So in a 6-year window of time, every single year in that window, there was a different Mr. Olympia champion. That was the last time something like this happened. Now, the reason I bring that up is because I believe in bodybuilding right now, we are on the precipice of the next era of a reigning Mr. Olympia. Because if you guys look at the 79 through 84 span here, you've got Lee Haney being the last winner, and when Lee Haney won, he would go on to win 8 in a row, thus beginning the era of Lee Haney. And this span of 6 years began on the tail end of Frank Zane's 3-year Olympia run. So far, with Shawn Rhoden, Brandon Curry, and of course Big Ramy, none of these guys have won multiple Mr. Olympias yet. So the question is, which one of these guys would most likely be the next guy to begin the next era of bodybuilding where a Mr. Olympia champion reigns as champion for a significant period of time? Or could there even be a possibility that it's not one of these guys and it's someone completely new next year? So I guess the question that I want to answer in this video is, who is the best of these 3 guys that have only won one Mr. Olympia title, and who stands the strongest chance of going on to win multiple? So let's start with Shawn Rhoden here. Shawn Rhoden won the 2018 Mr. Olympia. And to me, he's one of the more impressive champions in this list because he beat the current reigning champion, Phil Heath, who at the time was 7-time Mr. Olympia. He beat Phil at arguably Phil's prime. And I say Phil's prime because we'll come back to this later, but when Phil came back in 2020, this was after several surgeries. This was after significant time off. It wasn't prime Phil Heath that we saw at the 2020 Mr. Olympia, but Phil was going for number 8 in 2018. And Shawn Rhoden took out the champ. And I think some of the attributes of Shawn's physique that really stood out to me was conditioning, number 1. Shawn was in fantastic shape, probably the best conditioned Shawn Rhoden we had ever seen up to that point. Everybody talks about the midsection. Shawn probably has one of the stronger midsections at that 2018 show than most modern men's open bodybuilders. I mean, you talk about how small his waist was. That was one thing. The V-taper, great. But his actual ab separation, just the detail in his abs was insane. Shawn brought probably one of the best midsections we've seen in modern bodybuilding in a very long time. Now, Shawn's situation is complicated. He has a pending case against him. We don't know the outcome of that case yet. But Shawn essentially has not had the opportunity to compete at the Olympia since 2018, and he has not been able to defend his title because of these pending allegations. So 2019 goes by, 2020 goes by, no Shawn Rhoden at the Olympia. And this is not a knock against Brandon Curry, but I honestly feel that if Shawn had competed in 2019, bringing a similar package to the package that he brought the year prior, I think Shawn would have won back-to-back Mr. Olympia titles had he never basically been forced to go away. So if Shawn gets this case resolved and he's able to come back and compete and defend his title one day, I think Shawn still has it in him to win another title. But these are factors at this point, it seems like it's really out of Shawn's control. So who knows what's going to happen with that. But in my honest opinion, Shawn was extremely impressive in 2018, and I think he would have won more than one title, to be completely honest. And before we get to the other guys, first, a word from our sponsors. All right, guys, I'm excited to announce today's video is sponsored by Manscaped. So for those of you that don't know, Manscaped is a company that focuses heavily on male grooming products, hence their slogan being, "Your balls will thank you." Now, I've always been someone that believed in the importance of grooming your nether regions, hence my video from maybe 6 years ago, how to shave your dick and balls, always something that has been near and dear to my heart. So Manscaped has offered me several tools and formulas from their new all-in-one performance package kit to further pursue my endeavor of a neatly groomed nether region. The Performance Package Kit includes the new Lawnmower 3.0, which is essentially their electric razor, which is waterproof with advanced skin-safe technology which reduces cuts and scratches. Manscaped has even created a testicle deodorant called Crop Preserver and a testicle spray tonic. Now that is revolutionary. There's also the Weed Whacker, which is a nose and ear trimmer. And Manscaped has also thought about toes and nails. Take a look at the Shears 2.0, which is a deluxe manicure kit. For a limited time, you can get this whole package, all of this, plus 2 free gifts, the Shed Travel Bag and the Manscaped Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs. So if you want to get 20% off free international shipping and these 2 free gifts, go to manscaped.com and use the code STRENGTH20 or manscaped.com/Nick to receive this deal right now. So 2019. The 2019 Mr. Olympia brings us another new champion in Brandon Curry. One of my favorites, actually, of these 3 Mr. Olympias, because Brandon's physique, to me, is one of the most aesthetically pleasing physiques of the 3, even though Shawn is very aesthetic in his own right. Small midsection, great V-taper, better lower body than Brandon. I think Brandon's aesthetic shape of his upper body is actually superior to Shawn's, to be honest. I think Shawn is the more complete bodybuilder. If you put Shawn against Brandon, I would take Shawn, but in pure aesthetics, I think, Brandon's upper body is just superior in that sense. He's got better arms than Shawn, I think. They flow a lot better with us. Specifically, take a look at Brandon's front double bicep pose. How aesthetic Brandon looks in that pose. His arms look crazy round. His V-taper looks nuts. I think Brandon just has a very pleasing, very aesthetic physique. And I think the judges were continuing to go in that direction when Brandon won. When Shawn won in 2018, they gave it to the more aesthetic guy than Phil Heath. Shawn Rhoden was going in a more aesthetic direction, smaller waist, better V-taper. I think the judges were just favoring that direction for bodybuilding. And then they kind of kept with that same energy in giving Brandon the title the following year. So I think Brandon's strong points are A, his aesthetics, and B, his ability to continuously improve from year to year. He even improved from 2019 to 2020. And that's what's important here. You can make a really strong case for Brandon being the best of these 3 guys because Brandon not only won in 2018, he took second in 2020, but a lot of people said Brandon only won because Phil wasn't there. He only won in 2019 because Phil wasn't back and because Shawn couldn't defend his title. Now, even though Shawn didn't go against Brandon in 2020, Phil did. And Brandon came out on top, which I think is something that a lot of people are sleeping on that fact. I think that's very impressive that Brandon was able to pull that off because that was the bigger story to me. Almost bigger than Ramy winning is everybody said Phil beats Brandon 9 times out of 10. There's no way Brandon would ever beat Phil. If Phil competed in 2019, Brandon could not have stopped Phil. But Brandon stopped Phil in 2020 and beat Phil in his comeback to win 8 titles. So Brandon makes a very impressive case for himself as well. Now, finally, you have your current reigning defending Mr. Olympia champion, Big Ramy Mamdo Elsbaye. Big Ramy bringing forward what a lot of people feel is going to be the new era in bodybuilding. The new standard set by Big Ramy is going to set a standard that the judges are moving in the direction of size. And to beat the champ, you've got to be as big or bigger than the champ. So a lot of what I've seen online from reading comments, reading forums, reading DMs is a lot of people feel like this is the beginning of the era of Big Ramy. They said it's just been a matter of time before Ramy wins his first Olympia, and once he does, he's going to go on to reign for years. Because once that size standard has been set at the Mr. Olympia, this is how big you have to be the champ. It just can't go backwards from there. That's what people think. You look back at Dorian Yates era, Ronnie Coleman era, they bring in these new, a lot of people say Dorian ushered in the era of the mass monster. They bring in these new eras of the mass monster, these new standards. First you had the standard of Dorian, then you had the standard of Ronnie, which was even up another level. And now it looks like we have the standard of Big Ramy. So to me, yes, honestly, I think Ramy, of the three guys that we just talked about, has the best chance of being the guy to go on to reign for multiple years, to end this streak of there being a different Mr. Olympia winner every year. I think he's got the best chance because of the size that he has. I think he could. I think that could be true. I think it could be true that he just set a new standard for how big you have to be to win the show. Now, that being said, I also think Ramy is the most inconsistent of the three guys that we just talked about. Shawn Rhoden is kind of out of the equation because we don't know if he's ever going to be able to compete again. But Brandon Curry has been extremely consistent with nailing his conditioning, extremely consistent with improving. Ramy with conditioning. This is the first time we've really seen Ramy nail it, with the exception of maybe 2017 where he was runner-up. But let's be completely honest about Big Ramy's track record at the Olympia and other shows. His conditioning has really been hit or miss. We all know it's true, that it's been hard for him to nail it. Now, he has nailed it for 2020, but the question is going to be, does lightning strike twice? Will Ramy be able to do this again and again and again, year after year after year, come in with the conditioning that he needs to not only be Mr. Olympia, but to retain and defend that title? Is that likely as well? Because honestly, I think the direction that the judging seems to have been going, you go from, okay, Shawn's the winner, okay, Brandon is the winner, okay, Ramy is the winner. From Shawn to Brandon, it seems like they're going in the aesthetic direction, but from Brandon to Ramy, it's like, okay, never mind about aesthetics. We want the big guy. Now, in all fairness, Big Ramy has a very small waist for a man of his size, but let's be honest, he's not the most aesthetic physique by a long shot. So I think Ramy has the best chance of going on a streak and winning multiple titles. That being said, my bold prediction for 2021 is I think you're going to have another new Mr. Olympia champion win the Olympia this year. That's my prediction. I know it's extremely early. We haven't had a single bodybuilding show yet for the 2021 season. But my prediction is somebody else, not one of these three guys, is going to win in 2021. Look, I think it could be Flex Lewis. Flex Lewis is coming to compete at the 2021 Olympian Men's Open Bodybuilding. I also think it could be Hadi Choopan. If Hadi Choopan is able to make it back next year, I think Hadi has everything it takes to win an Olympia title. It could be William Bonac. It could be Phil Heath if he comes back again. It could be anybody, but honestly, I've just got this premonition that this year there will be another new Mr. Olympia crowned, and that is my early prediction. So give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below whether you agree or disagree with the statements that I made in this video. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet already. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.